Hello, good morning, friends. Myself, Dhaval Mistry. I am assistant professor in Mechanical Engineering Department in Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Technical Education and Research Center, which is situated in Navsari. Today, we are going a presentation on a types of core. First, introduction. What is core? Core are defined as a body of sand which is used to form the hollow interior of the casting or a hole through the casting. These are prepared separately in a core box. Core are held and located in the mold in the set from by the core print provided on the pattern. A core is device used in casting process to produce internal cavity and re-entrant angle. The core is normally a disposable item that is destroyed to get it out of the piece. They are most commonly used in sand casting. Cores form internal cavity inside the structure which will then leads to the final casting shape. Sand inside the cores and pattern gives strength and rigidity to the casting structure. Properly conditioned sand will give a better result. A core is essentially a body of material which form component of the mold. It possesses sufficient strength to be a handle as an independent unit. Core is an obstacle which when the positional in the mold naturally does not permit the molten metal to fill up the space occupied by the core. In this way, a core produces hollow casting. Core are required to create the recent undercut and interior cavity that are often a part of casting. Core are employed and insert in the mold to form design features that are otherwise extremely difficult to produce by simple molding. The dry silica sand is used as a basic refractory material for preparing core. This sand withstands for a high temperature of metal pouring in the mold. Next is core and types of core. There are many types of cores. According to the state of condition of core, there are two types of. First one is green sand core and second one is dry sand core. Let's discuss first one is green sand core. Green sand core are formed by pattern itself. A green sand core is a part of the mold. A green sand core is made out of the same sand from which the rest of mold has been made. Example of molding steel. Second one is the dry sand core. A dry sand core, unlike green sand core, are not produced as a part of a sand. Dry sand core are made separately and independent of the mold. A dry sand core is made up of core sand which differ very much from the sand out of which the mold is constructed. A dry sand core is made in a core box and it's baked after the ramming. A dry sand core is positioned in the mold on core sheets formed by the core print on the pattern. A dry sand core is inserted in a mold before closing the same. These are the two types of according to the state of condition of cores. Next is according to the nature of core material employed. There are four types of. First one is oil bonded core, second one is resin bonded cores, third one is cell cores, fourth one is sodium silicate CO2 cores. Let's first discuss a oil bonded core. First, oil condensate bore, a conventional sand core, are produced by mixing of silica sand with a small percentage of linseed sand. This is the oil bonded core. Second one is the resin bonded core. A phenol resin bonded sand is rammed in the core box. The core is rammed from the core box and baked in a core oven in 375 to 450 Faraday of harden the core. This is the resin bonded core. Then third is cell core. Cell core can be made manually or on a machine. The procedure of making cell core is unfollowed. The core box is heated to temperature of the order of 400 to 600 Faraday. This is the cell core. Next one is sodium silicate CO2 cores. This core use a core material consistent of clean dry sand mixed with a solution of sodium silicate. The sand mixer is rammed into the core box. The rammed sand while it is the core box is gassed for several seconds with the CO2 gas. As a result, a silica gel form which binds sand grain into a strong solid form like silica sand. Core thus produce a usually need to baking. Core thus form possess more strength than the oil resin bonded core. Unhardened core are not handled so that there is no chance of breaking or sagging of cores. Core dryer is not required. This is the sodium silicate or CO2 cores. Next is according to the types of core hardening process for employed. So there are four types. First one is a hot box process. The second one is the cold set process. Third one is castable sand process, and fourth one is oil no bake process. So we discuss about the first one is hot box process. It is use a heat core box for the production of cores. The core box is made up of a cast iron, steel or aluminum and possess vents and injector for removing core gases and stripped core from the core box respectively. Core box is heated from 350 to 500 Faraday. Heated core box is employed for making a cell cores from dry resin bonded mixer. Hot core box can be also be used with core sand mixer employed liquid resin binder as the castile. This is the hot box process. Then second one is the cold set process. While the mixing the core sand accelerate to the binder, the sand mixer is very flowable and easily rammed. Curing beginning immediately with the addition of accelerate and continue until the core is strong to be removed from the core box. A little heated of the core hardens it completely. Cold set process is preferred for jobbing production. This is the cold set process. Then the third one is castable sand process. A setting or hardener agent such as the diclinic silicate is added to a sodium silicate at the time of core sand mixing. The sand mixer possesses high flowability and after being poured in the core box, it's chemically hardened after a short interval of time. As compared to CO2 process where it may not be possible to gas the filled core uniformly and to obtain a uniformly hardened core, castable sand process produce much better and uniform result. This is the castable sand process. Next is last one is oil no bake process. The process employs a synthetic oil binder which when mixed with the basic sands activated chemically produce cores that can be cured at a room temperature. The sand may be consist of washed and dry sand, oil no bake binder and castile. Oil no bake cross linkage agent. This is the oil no bake process. Next is the according to the shape and position of core. The first one is the horizontal core. Let's the figure show in horizontal core. Upper side is the sand, then the mold, then a core, and then is parting plane. Okay, let's see in figure. And the horizontal core is placed horizontally at the parting line of a mold such that one half remaining of cope and other half is dragged. The end of the core rests on the sheet of mold provided by the core print. Core prints are provided on the pattern, generally two piece or split pattern. Next is vertical core. So in a figure, first upper parts is the cope, then parting line, then sand, then mold, and then core. Vertical core. This is a place in a vertical position both in cope and drag half of the mold. The amount of taper on the top is greater than that the bottom. It rests on the sheet made at the bottom of the mold by the core print and further supported by the similar sheet made in a cope. This is the vertical core. Next is hanging or cover core. In these types of hanging core, so in a figure, the upper parts core, cope, parting line, mold, and drag. Hanging core hangs from the cope and does not have any support at the bottom of the drag. Cover core cover the mold and the reset on the sheets made in the drag. Hanging core are fastened with the help of wire and etc. Next is the drop or stop of core. It is also called a wing a core. So in a figure, the cope, parting line, sand and drag. A stop of or drop core is used when hole, recess or cavity required in the casting is not in a line with the parting surface. It is above or below the parting line of the casting. These are also known as tail core, saddle core or chair core depending upon its shape and position in the mold. Next is balance core. So in a figure, first mold, core, sand, cope, parting line and drag. A, a balance core is one of which is supported and balanced from its one and only. So it is need only one cope print, but it is larger enough to give a proper bearing of the core. The core length should be long enough so that sufficient length of the core may be embedded in the sand balance the weight of the overhang. If the overhang is too much, such balance will not be enough and the overhanging length of the core will be supported by means of chaplet. It is used when the casting does not need through hole or cavity. This is the balance core. Next is ramp up core. So in a figure, cope, parting line, sand and drag. Ramp up core is placed with the pattern before the mold is ramped up. These are used when the core details cavity is located in an inessential position. These are used to produce interior and exterior portion of a casting. Next is kiss core. So in a figure there are two cores, sand, cope, parting line, mold and drag. Kiss core does not require core sheet for getting support. These are held in a position between drag and cope due to the pressure exerted by the cope on the drag. Number of holes can be produced simultaneously by the using number of kiss core. These are the kiss core. Next is the core application. In a core application, the core and core form greatly increase by the versatility. Before being used for forming recess, the holes in the casting core are also employed as the strengther gates and pouring cups. Next, as a riser core for making mold, as core mold in the centrifugal casting process. As slab cores are increasing casting output from one mold of molding and casting operation. These are the application of the core application. In this video we are covered 7 marks question asked in GTU types of core. Now it is most IMP question asked in a GTU. Thank you.